Hey gang, we're here at Big Stone Gap, Virginia. We're here with Mr. Allen Goodman, knife maker, renowned knife maker and wood carver. You see some of his carvings there. We'll get a picture of that. And Allen, you hail from?
Originally from Mount Carmel, Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, lived in the Smokies for a little while. That's where we met.
That's where we met.
Stuff.
Yes, sir.
And now I live in the big city of Grover,
North Carolina.
We're about 60 miles west of Charlotte and a little bit below Asheville.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm glad that you would make it. I'm glad we were able to meet again.
Yeah,
it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
And got me purchased one of my Allen Goodman knives that's going to go home with me. And Allen, how do you go about making a knife like that? What kind of steel do you use?
I use 1095 high carbon steel.
Okay.
So, the thing about high carbon steel is it's generally a softer steel. If you need to sharpen it on a rock, you can.
Okay.
Or, stainless, it's just harder. It doesn't take a good edge.
Okay.
But this right here, we can get them good and sharp and just maintain them on a leather strop, and they're good to go.
Well, you mind showing us how to sharpen the knife?
Not at all.
Can she come?
The knife up and look, but what I'm looking at is does it have a nice tip on it? So might start out by bringing this to a nice little point, and then I tend to flatten that blade as much as I can. So I'm going to start over here on the 1x30, and this is just 80 grit. I don't use any finer grit than 80. So there's high carbon steel. See all those sparks coming off of there? Then I go directly into the water. We'll get a little bit of a tip brought back on this. And that's got a nice point. Key thing is just coming off that paper into the water. And I like to form a burr on that edge. Call it a feather edge. It'll look like a feather. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on the camera or not, but I'll try to hold it up here in just a second.
Allen, what grit sandpaper did you say that
was? This is 80. I only use 80 on the 1x30. All right, and I use that just to rough in an edge. Back here toward the very back, there starts to form this little feather, or the burr. Exactly. You must draw that burr to get that knife good and sharp. So I come off the 80, then I go to 100 grit, and then 180 and leather, and then I buff it. But we want to form this little feather edge, or that little wire. I've got it toward the back, so now I want to concentrate out toward the tip. Just kind of light pressure. I'm not putting a whole lot of pressure on it. You definitely want to have you a cup of water. And I use my light source. A dull edge will reflect light. Just like the back of that blade, you'll see a dull spot if we can get that in the light just right. So I can see right in here there's a little bit of a glare. So I know I need to kind of raise the back of the handle a little bit. And the thing you always want to be sure is you don't want to burn that tip like that. There's right there. That metal is no good. It got heated up, so I'm just going to grind past that. The paper got a little worn on me there, so it's about worn out. I need to change that belt. But if you ever do glue that tip, just kind of grind past it. Now I get over here where I should have been, is on this slower RPM, and I'll just work that little feather edge back on there. Just kind of back and forth till we get that burr. And this is just a burnt sharpener here. It doesn't matter what you got as long as you use it. And I turn that cutting edge directly into my sandpaper. I've had a couple of folks say, wait a minute, you know, that doesn't look right, but it's grinding away. Then when we stop, I'll show you what I mean by splicing the paper kind of close together, so it just kind of skips right over it. Because you know, I see a lot of people, they'll go from here to here. I just turn the blade directly either this way or that way.
Now, of course, is at a slow RPM, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. This way you got a lot more time, and it's just good to have your water right there to quench it in. The other thing is just, you know, be patient and let the machine work. If I get in a big hurry, you know, I could blue that steel and there again, ruin the knife. So this is more of a, like I said, it's about 100 grit, so it's still got enough bite to it that I can kind of rough off some metal. I got that little tip right there. All right, so then I'll usually get it in the light source, and there again, if I don't see anything glaring back, I know I've got it right where it needs to be. So there again, just have patience. All right, so now we've got a burr from the back edge to the very tip, and I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but right along that edge, just kind of a little bitty wire. All right, now this is 180 grit. So that's going to polish out some of those heavier grit.
Oh, you see that burr really good.
There you go. You might be able to catch that. Yeah. And you got to have that. If you don't get that burr, that's where a lot of folks just, you know, don't have good sharp tools because they don't actually form that burr. Then we're going to go down to that little leather wheel, which will work that right off of there.
Alan, does that apply to U gouges and V tools as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. You wanna, you know, if you've got a tool that's especially brand new, you know, you might be able to just buff it or use the leather and be okay. But generally, when I sharpen tools, I like to get that burr on there. All right. So here again, we're just on a leather wheel with some compound. And this will kind of just whisk that little wire edge away. All right. Sometimes you'll see it kind of fly off, almost like a little hair, you know. But I'll just work between this and this little buffing wheel. We'll stop it and let you look right quick. That way you can tell that's leather. And this is just kind of a cotton wheel. That thing's old as the machine is, but it works, you know, and that's the idea, is it just kind of pulls that little wire burr off of there. So I'll work back and forth between the leather and that little buffing wheel.
Here.
Speed? There again, when it comes to the buffing part, if this was faster, I would be okay with it.
Okay.
Yeah. There again, you can't get too fast. This machine here really flies, but I come off of there really quick. When I mean come off of there, I come off there and usually quench it because that's a really thin blade.
Did you bring a knife for the raffle table?
Yeah, sure did. All right, so we're there. So we're trying to whisk any burr left away. And then the good thing is this end grain. Get right there on that end grain, and it'll tell us whether there's any scratches.
Sheen on that wood looks very good.
Yeah, it just pops and it's clean, and I can roll that cut. So I'll usually get on the end grain and test it, and then I like to perform a chip cut. That tells me whether the very tip is good and sharp. So there, and then I like to make a little swirly cut. But that right there is what I'm looking for. You can sometimes do this, you know, and that's good, but you'll know more if you get up there in the end grain. If you see any little scratches, you know, if you're carving and every time you make a cut, you see a scratch, stop carving, come back and apply some. Here's your grit on your leather wheel. It's just a compound. It's just much finer. So this way you come back on your leather wheel. We're just pretending we've got a scratch on the blade. So if you work back and forth and then come back to your block of wood, there again, that'll tell you. Yeah, there's your little tricks right there. So we just took a blade and essentially just matched the bevel. It's a carving knife, so it has a much flatter bevel than say a everyday carry pocket knife or something like that. So we kind of flatten this, get a burr, then we'll come to the leather, and then the little buffing wheel, and there's your other tool, is your block of wood. If you got a good light source, that's all you need.
Okay, awesome, Alan. And when you do that, are you keeping the blade flat to the wheel? Or are you kind of angling it a little bit?
On here, I still always want to match that bevel.
Match the bevel.
Yeah,
that's the key. Okay.
Yeah, even if it's like an everyday carry knife. Right. This one, I just come off the 80 grit the other day. This is my everyday working knife. So it's not a carving knife, but, you know, it's sharp. But it's not going to leave that clean sheen or polished looking cut.
Okay.
But we can take this edge right here, come on the leather. So this is, there again, you know, it's a steeper angle. We're going to be cutting rope and who knows what through the day, boxes. I cut boxes, and cardboard just kind of eats that edge up. But I just use that 80 grit paper to get a really quick working edge, and we're just gonna kind of polish this out and make a cut on that block of wood, just to show you it will work. Night and day.
There you go, folks. You got it. Yes, sir.
So we've started out, and all I did, we'll just do it real quick. Form a burr. That's my working edge for cutting boxes. You know, that'll work all day for cutting rope, boxes, stuff like that. And you know, it'll still cut wood and stuff. But if I wanted to bring this, see, now you can see little pieces of wood stuck in there because that edge is literally rough. I mean, it's chainsaw. Yeah. So if I wanted to decrease that a little bit, say I'm working on a walking stick or something, skinning it. I'll just come down the grit. See, it's your angle, you know, the degree of the bevel you've got on there. Just always match that angle. Or there again, if I wanted this to be a dedicated carving knife, I'd bring that edge down or decrease that angle. So here again, just that leather, the compound is doing the work. It's pulling any of that wire edge off of there. And there again, that wheel just kind of buffs, pulls any of that little wire. So back and forth on that, kind of swipe or two there.
Back to a carving blade.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep, just that quick. So it's the amount of bevel we're looking at. This is an everyday use, so it's got a steeper bevel, where this is a much more delicate, refined edge.
Right.
You know? So that's all we're doing. We're just refining all the way down. And it's not the best machine in the world. You don't have to have one. You can do the same thing with hand stones and witch on carving tools. That's a good way to go. Right. You don't have to worry about burning that tool. But I didn't mean to burn that little tip, but I'm glad it happened because folks don't don't have a clue what you're
And if
talking
it
about.
happens now, people know what to do with it.
Right,
So,
right.
Alan, we greatly appreciate it, folks. If I can say you want to carve a knife, this is the man to get in touch with. What would be your contact information for people that want to do that?
I've got an email address. It would be w.allengoodman@yahoo.com. Yep, and I've got an
deal.
Instagram and I've got a YouTube page. So
Awesome. We'll we'll put a link in that. And, thanks again. It's good seeing you again,
thanks,
man.
John. Appreciate it.
All right.
Good to see you.
Good
Thanks.
deal.